Hi, I'm Brady Moldrup. I'm a former UT student, and today I'll be bringing you a CBT story from one of our patrons and former students. During my senior year, I was cast as the lieutenant in My Three Angels. A small role, but critical to the plot, as I effectively came in and saved the day in the last 5 minutes of the play. As the lieutenant, I got to wear authentic and antique navy dress whites. The uniform was immaculate, and I was told by Mary DeCure, wardrobe supervisor, that if I even creased the uniform, I was dead meat. The costume shop always had rules about costume usage, and rightfully so. For example, no eating or drinking in costume. Do not even sit when you're wearing this, Mary told me as she presented me with the uniform. She leaned a board against the wall of the green room. If you're tired, lean against this, but no sitting, no creasing, no smudges, no nothing. Easy. I was a good student, and I followed the rules, even when they filled me with rampant and inescapable anxiety. Also cast in the show, and duly paid for her work, was a trained chicken named Mitzi. My entrance wasn't until the last few pages of the play, so I spent most of the time backstage in my street clothes until about the last half hour. Then, I would put on my brilliant and blinding white uniform and proceed backstage. And while waiting for my entrance, I spotted Mitzi in her cage. And she was very friendly, so I squatted down, careful not to dent my slacks, and I stroked the feathers on the back of her head, and she seemed soothed. And then for some reason that even 25 years later I cannot fathom, I opened her cage and took her out and held her. And it was going great for about 2.5 seconds until she fluttered out of my hands and ran across backstage towards the raked stage under which she could fit. Panic-stricken, I had to get her back. I had maybe 5 minutes before my entrance, and with Mary DeCure's warning echoing in my brain, I stripped out of my strikingly white uniform and stood barely hidden from 600 audience members in my underwear and t-shirt, and I dropped to my belly and slithered under the slanted set while John Ferguson and Dorothy Donaldson and the rest of the cast performed above. Mitzi clucked and squawked in the far downstage corner, and I struggled to get further and further underneath the stage to retrieve her until finally I got my hand around her chest and her wings, and I somehow belly crawled backwards out from under the set. I ran to her cage, I put her in, and then quickly but carefully redressed. Starched white shirt, white dress socks, white pressed slacks, white leather belt, white jacket, medals, and a hat, and with my Don't Become Dead Meat uniform on, I made it to the door from which I would make my entrance only seconds later, and no one was the wiser. Except that night my lieutenant was a little more out of breath than usual. Funny follow-up. Mitzi had performed in a show before My Three Angels. I guess she was our resident chicken of the 97-98 season. And one day I was asked to give a tour to a prospective student. And I introduced myself, and he replied, "Hey, I'm Zach, and this is my mother, Mitzi." "Oh, lovely," I said. "We have a chicken named Mitzi who performs here at the theater." And they blinked and looked at each other, and then back at me, and proceeded with questions about classes. And I hid my embarrassment at the fact that I had just inadvertently linked a prospective student's mother to a chicken.